star quilt block. Let me show you how to make it. It's not that hard. I think a beginner quilter can do this. Start out by picking two opposing fabrics. You want a dark and a light. You will cut out 6-inch blocks for the two, and then you will need white as well. I will put on the screen the size of the blocks and how many of each one, and you can pause it to take a screenshot. So I'm cutting out 4 white 6-inch by 6-inch blocks, 4 dark colored 6-inch by 6-inch blocks, 4 light 6-inch by 6-inch blocks, and then 4 5.5-inch squares. Once you have finished cutting them all out, you will take 2 dark, match it with 2 lights, then the dark and the light, you'll do the rest of them with a white piece on top of them. Once you have them all matched up, then you will draw a line from corner to corner on each one. So just try to get it as close as you can from the top corner to the bottom corner and do it on every single one. Make sure that you put them pretty side to pretty side. Now you have 6 blocks total and you are ready to start sewing them. You are going to follow that line you drew down the center and stitch a 1/4-inch stitch on each side. Now I am going to chain piece mine, so I'm not going to cut my threads. I'm just going to sew a 1/4-inch on the one side of the line on every single block and leave them on my machine. Then I will cut them apart, flip it over, sew a 1/4-inch seam on each side of the block, on the other side of the block, until I've sewn them all. Then you will carefully cut down the center of each one, so you will end up with 12 blocks. Now, I trim mine. Some people just cut those little tail corners off. I trim each one of mine. I do each side with a ruler that shows me the angle. I line that line up through the center and make sure and cut them all down to a 5.5-inch block. It's going to be relatively close. You're cutting off very little of these blocks, but I just like to do it this way. You can do it however you want. So go through and trim each block. Oh, before you trim it though, iron it open. Or I iron my seams open, some iron them to the side. I like mine open. Now, once you've got it all trimmed up, it's time to start laying it out. So you're making just the simple pinwheel. You can take a screenshot of it to get a picture of it after it's all together. So you'll just keep lining it up until you make this cute little star shape. Those are the 5.5-inch pieces that you cut of the white. Those go in the corner to finish up the block shape. Now you can start sewing it together. I like to just sew all of this side together, then I sew this side together. We're using a 1/4-inch seam, so just sew down that side, then sew down the next side. Then I just keep sewing them all together till I have formed the block using that 1/4-inch stitch and keeping track of the order of where they go back together. So I kind of have a little method of how I put my stars together. I make these bigger blocks and then sew them together, and then it's 2 halves, then I sew the 2 halves together. But give it a try, see if you can make something like this. You can make it any size you want. Just know you're going to lose some in that seam when you make those half square triangles, so make the star.